right, am I right now? Am I right in assuming that everyone did get all the stuff downloaded? All right, that's been done, right? Okay, so I removed my emulator because I was having problems with it. Don't worry about the hello world. Don't worry about any of the stuff that's on here, all right? But if yours looks like this, if you have not yet created an emulator, so if you remember, does everybody remember that when we're doing this, we have to open up Eclipse Mobile instead of Eclipse Java? So if you opened up Eclipse Java, close it, and open up Eclipse Mobile, all right? I'm going to do everything. I'm going to close down everything that I've got running right now. Exit. There. Now I should be right where everybody else is. Correct? So double click the Eclipse folder. I actually made a shortcut down on my taskbar down here, but I'm just going to double click Eclipse Mobile. It starts up Juno. If you remember, Juno was what we ran last semester. All right. Now, though, with the Eclipse Java, we're running Luna. The system is acting slow. I can't for the life of me tell you why it is. But now it's up again. You may have nothing in here whatsoever, and that's fine. All right. But if you have not before created an emulator, you should be able to go to Window and then down to Android Virtual Device Manager. Don't go to Window Android SDK Manager. That's what we did the other day. All right, so go to Window, Android Device Manager. I removed mine, so yours should look the way mine looks when it comes up. In other words, like that. All right, am I correct? What does yours look like? Oh, you've already got one. What I'm saying is I removed mine, so I'm going to recreate mine. If you created one the other day, there'll be something there. If you have not yet created one, it should look like this. All right? So I'm going to click Create. And the other day I called it Nexus 1. All right? Under the device, I'm going to choose Nexus 1 3.7 inch. Under the target, I'm going to choose level 20. Under the CPU, I'm going to choose Wear ARM. I don't want to use my regular keyboard. I want the program to basically end up creating one for me. For the skin, I don't want any skin. Did you just leave yours blank? Okay, no skin. All right. Bless you. On the back camera, set to none. Have your RAM set to 512, your virtual machine heap to 32, your internal storage to 200. And I had been setting this. John told me he got his to work, and he didn't set his SD card size at all. Technically, it shouldn't matter because I don't think we're using anything from there. So does everybody, if you haven't created yours before, do you have it set up like this? And if you've created it before, you can either go back and edit it if you want, or if you're happy with the way it is, then just leave it the way it is. So I'm going to click OK now. All right? Okay, now it's created that. Okay, so now I've got that. Now the other day somebody said down here, look, I've got errors. No, what this means down here is if you get the triangle with the yellow thing in it, that means you've created it, but for lack of better words, the emulator software is confused, and there's something in there that you probably didn't fix when you set it up in here. Okay? If it comes up with a red X, you're hosed because something's screwed up someplace. And what could that be? In one of those settings that we just looked at, you could have put in a number that's too big. Or you could have put in a negative number or something like that. I don't know. Once you get that, though, to start up the emulator, all right, when it's highlighted, you just click the Start button. And it comes up and it shows you this. This was the size that we chose for the Nexus 1. I don't know what the density is. You shouldn't have to scale it. All right, if you want to, I guess you can. So 3.7 inch, but I don't think that's going to matter. Did you scale yours?
No, I haven't.
I've done it both ways like that too. And I think I mentioned this to you last time, that I've read articles that say wipe the user data and others that say don't wipe the user data. When I got this to work with no problems last year, when this came up like this, I just left all the defaults and clicked launch. Now it's starting up the emulator. All right, I don't have a program running yet, but the emulator is starting. All right. So now it comes up, and in here it is showing me some of the stuff that has been set up for it. All right. Then, to my knowledge at least, you have to shut this. All right. You literally have to shut it. So it almost looks like you're turning the emulator off. You're not. I think what that does is it forces it to the background. All right. Are we all together here? Okay. So let's start a new project. Let's see if we can create a hello world. So I'm going to take my hello world that I have right now. And I want you to see this, because you may or may not be aware of this. If I right mouse click on my current hello world, all right, and I come down and I choose delete. You may have done this before, you may not have. But do you understand the difference? If I check this, it's literally gone. It's gone. I can't do anything with it anymore. All right? But if I want to keep that particular project, but I just don't want it to show in my workspace, then all I have to do is uncheck that. Then it remains saved in the disk area. It just doesn't show in the area that's over here. Does that make sense? All right, so that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to click OK. And you'll notice Hello World is gone from there. All right, just so I don't have any problems with mine, I'm going to create another one, but I'm just going to call it Hi World. Okay, instead of Hello World. You can call yours, if you've got nothing there, Hello World. There shouldn't be any kind of problems. You want to call yours Hi World, doesn't matter. So to start up again, it's File, New, Android Application Project. All right, again, please look up on the screen here, even if you've done that already, if you're still doing it. I believe you can also do a File, New, and choose Project, because there's something under there that's got the Android and the Android Application Project. So you can do it that way too. To me, that's a little bit more work, so I'm just always going to do it as File, New, Android Application Project. All right, boom. Yes. That's because you weren't here the other day when we set all this stuff up. Okay, but it might not all be set up. Yes. We're going to look at that in just a minute. Okay? So if you got the empty battery, I'll be able to help you with that in just a second. All right? Now, I want to let Mike get caught up, but for the rest of you, so you can at least start, I'll put the stuff in here. All right? I'll put the stuff in here, but I'm not going to click Next to go on. All right? So I'm just going to call mine, like I said, Hi World instead of Hello World. All right? Notice it automatically gives whatever you call the application, it gives the project the same name. Then in here, technically, just so you know, we're not doing anything where we're actually saving this and we're going to put it out on a device. We're not going to attempt to send it to the Google Play Store, etc. If you want to leave yours at com.example, you can. Did you get it to work? Good. All right. And I didn't mean to be a smart aleck. I'm glad that Zane helped you with it. Okay? All right. So you literally can leave it as com.example, but historically what people do is they use a reverse domain name notation. That's why, for example, Teresa's would be edu.blackhawk.students, or whatever it is, .students.blackhawk.tDaron. Right, does that make sense? So I'm going to do that to mine. I'm going to type in edu.blackhawk, and again, I don't have a student, so .jscott. So you can do something similar to that, or you can leave it at com.example. Either one's okay. All right. Did you just leave the defaults here, or did you set it to something else? All right. Then let's do that. Let's change our target, and let's change our compile. So they're both at 20. Now, and I'm not sure if John will agree that this is why he did that. I'm a little leery of anything that's got the word preview in it. Because that means that, for lack of better words, it's in a test mode. They put it out there, so they must be pretty confident that even though it's in a test mode, it's okay. All right, fine. I just went down one level. Okay? And as you can see, as the operating system goes on, again, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, where it says L preview, that's Lollipop. I told you that the other day. All right? And you'll notice that as it goes down, the API goes up. All right? And there is a reason I'm telling you that. I'm going to show you something regarding that in a little bit. All right? So everybody's cool with the stuff that's here? This thing too with the theme, the hollow dark or the hollow light or the whatever, that literally is the background coloring and stuff. And the one that's here, the hollow light with dark action bar, that's the newest. All right. If you want, you can go online. There's just not enough time to do that, but you can go back and they'll show you pictures as they've gone through of how the background, etc., has changed. So everybody's got that, correct? All right. So let's click next. Again, the stuff that's in here, one thing you should look at is that location better be set to D users, your username, desktop, and whatever you call that. If yours is still somehow set to like C:A Sanchez, it probably isn't going to work right, or at least it's not saving it to the right area, even if it does work. All right, you can't change that from here. You'd have to literally cancel, go back in, do a file, and do a switch workspace and switch it. Does all that make sense? All right. So as it says right here, we are configuring. By and large, the stuff that's in here for almost every screen from here on out will just accept the defaults. Give them a second. I want to make sure that the mic doesn't fall behind here. John will tell you the same thing. He was sick yesterday. So we have two sick people collaborating with one another. Yeah. Yep. In fact, John, Laura wants you to permanently move into Zane's spot. Yeah, you have our permission too. Again, I want to do all this stuff as a class, but for the error that you talked about, Zach, I'll show you where that file is. You'll go in there and manually change it, you'll save it, and after you change it, we'll go to properties and we'll set that to read only. Then it shouldn't be allowed to be reset. Right now, it's set to yes, but when you're running it, it's for some reason resetting it to no. I don't know why. I even went out and Stack Overflowed on it, and they're like, yeah, that's happened to me too. Okay. But this is one way. Ever since we did that, it seems like it's working okay. Like I said, just give them a second to catch back up. For the rest of you, if yours looks like this, you can click next to go to your next screen. Okay. What are you doing? Are you reconfiguring the workspace? Do you need help, or you got it? Okay. Make sure you restart Eclipse when you get done. It should restart by itself anyway. So. Laura, I don't think you were here this morning, so just so you're aware of it. And you don't have to do it now, but the folder on the P drive for the class yesterday, for the C class, there's a folder in there that's got next Monday's date on it, and it has both Apple's Swift programming guide, which is a 463-page PDF, and it has a 110-page thing that we're going to be going over next. It's got that bullseye stuff in it. So that's all out there. Well, that's a lot. I don't expect you to read 600 pages of PDF, but especially with the Swift stuff, that big document, we're going to be looking at that after Thanksgiving. All right, we're just literally going to be looking at a bunch of the stuff that's out there. That'd put anybody to sleep. I always had that joke when I worked at a food store when I would be really tired and I'd go to bed and I'd dream about working at the food store. After I just work like a 10-hour shift, I go home and I would tell my boss the next day, you should pay me. Is he caught up? All right. So, again, we accepted all the defaults here, so I click next. That brings us here. I talked about this the other day. Those are the different icons. And again, if you are actually creating an app, the idea is these icons are of different heights and widths. And you should have icons that are scaled to those sizes. We'll talk about that, just not today. All right, so I'm going to click next again. And it says, what kind of an activity do you want to create? Virtually for the rest of the semester, we're just going to choose the default, which is blank activity, and make sure the create activity thing that's up here is checked. So if you've got that, again, click next. This, for lack of better words, this is the activity name. That's the name of the class that's going to be created, okay? And the layout is going to be your layout file. That's the name of it, okay? We're just, for now at least, we're just going to accept, like I mentioned to you, all the defaults. So with main activity and activity main, just click finish. It may take anywhere from 30 seconds to a couple minutes, but you'll notice over here, there's my hi world. All right, it isn't done yet. Now it's done. All right, does that make sense? Now, we're not going to run it. We're not going to do anything yet. But I mentioned this to you the other day because Mike wasn't here, and I just want to make sure, for completeness sake, that you look at this. Again, there's your interface. It's, as you can see, it's different from both the iOS stuff and it's different from the Visual Studio stuff. All right. So I'm hoping that everybody is where I'm showing you. You're where I am right now. Okay. All right. But just so you know, and don't worry, what I'm about to show you, Mark, I'm going to remove it right. I'm going to remove this. But again, if I go right now to activitymain.xml, if I go to the XML file, that is the graphic representation of this. Does that make sense to people? All right. This is under my folder that's called layout. All right. So yours may or may not be open, and that's under a folder called res. Yours may look like this. And if it does, it's not a problem. But under res, if I open that up, there is a layout folder. If I open that up, there's activity_main.xml. This is the file in graphical layout mode. This is the file in XML mode. That was created for me automatically. I didn't do anything special to create that. Yes. I don't understand what you mean when you say. That's from last time? Oh. Okay, hold on. I'm going to stop for just a second. So I have a question for you. All right? Look at that, John. But it asked me if I want a tutorial now when I swiped. If I click the exit, it stops. Yep, and all I didn't get that before. All right. Is everyone here? That's my question. Is everyone right here? We've all gotten to this point. That's correct? Okay. All right. You know, the good news is, even if it takes us a week or whatever to get this set, we've got the rest of the semester to work on this stuff. All right? And that'll put us way ahead for next semester. Now, I have a question for you, because I heard people, I was going to say pissing and moaning, but I'm not supposed to talk like that if I'm taping, so I won't say that. But I heard people say that I'm really behind on this class, I'm really behind on this class. Would it help to have lab in here next week, or do you want to go on in here? I'm asking you what you want to do. All right. You have lab Tuesday all morning. Remember? All right. And Thursday you'll have it in the 8 o'clock class. Okay? But in order for us to be able to do a certain amount of stuff in here, there's probably not going to be a lot of time in this class or in the iOS class to give you much lab. All right, hold on just a second. Probably should have paused that a while back. What is that same thing? Well, that's the same thing that both of them had. So I'll tell you what. right, this is, you know, if, let's see, Zane's not here. Is there anybody else who's not here other than Zane? Zach and Mike. So if you do happen to be watching this tape, we're trying to deal with just problems people are having just to get to this point. So I've gotten up a couple times. The reason I'm telling you that is I've been taping now for 30 plus minutes, but there's probably about 20 minutes of dead air. Now, Mike could raise his hand and say, Jeff, there's usually 100% dead air, all right? But there's more dead air, literal dead air, than usual, all right? Now, I want to show you something, and then we'll take a break, and then when we get done with the break, we'll come back and look at that battery issue, okay? I showed you this the other day, but I want to say it to you one more time. Again, if you do go down in your, go down here, and you start looking at where this stuff is. I mentioned this to you the other day, okay? You'll have a source folder. In that source folder, all right, don't worry about if it says that there's an error in there now. It'll be fixed, but just don't worry about it, all right? You may or may not have an error there. I'm not concerned about it one way or the other. That's the code that's in there right now, and it's giving me an error on this R file. I didn't touch the R file, so that's not going to be an error. It'll be fine when it ends up being built, all right? But the other stuff that's in here, and I told you about some of this the other day, again, in here, in all these drawable folders, drawable HDPI, LDPI, MDPI, XHDPI, and XXHDPI, that's where your icons go that go along with the app. In the layout, that's where your activity main is, as I mentioned to you, all right? This is your activity main. That's what you saw. That's what you all see. If you look down here, you should have just what I have. You should have graphical layout, and you should have activity underscore main.xml. You should have them both there. And if you click the other one that says activity main XML, you see this. That's the XML version of this. All right? Does that make sense to people? When your Java programs are built for Android, they're actually built in two ways. Bless you. You can literally build you can build the entire interface of your program, the entire thing, from this file. You can. All right? Now, just so you know, if I don't want Hello World there anymore, what I could do, I'm not going to do this, but if I wanted to, I could go right there, highlight all that, hit delete, and that would be gone. Does that make sense? All right? Now what I'm going to tell you next is a little different. We didn't go over this. We looked at it, but we didn't go over it the other day. And I want you to see this. First of all, we're going to get into this in more detail. All right? But normally when you say wrap, there's two things that you can put out here for the width and the height. You can put either wrap content or fill parent. All right? And what the difference between those two are, right now it says wrap content, which means wherever I've defined this, take as much area as you need and literally do wrapping, do textual type of wrapping if you need to. All right? But if it says fill parent, that means use every single inch you can possibly use. Make it the same size as the parent that's holding it. We'll go back and forth between those two. Sometimes, again, the best way to learn that, not with this simple app, but when we get into a little bit more complex apps, is I'll say to you, set that to fill parent. Don't, and see what happens. And then set it, and run it again, and see what happens. All right? That's usually the best way to learn. Now, this line's important here. Literally, what this means, right here, this line that's in blue that's on your screen, is it says the text for this text view, and you know that that says hello world. But what it says right here is that text is defined in the string file. And it's defined in the variable in the string file that's called hello world. Does that make sense? All right, so if I go down here to where it says values, and I click in the strings file, it shows me this, which I hardly ever use, but I'm going to go to strings XML. And notice what we have here. It says the variable named hello underscore world actually has a value of hello world. Does that make sense? So we're setting it one place. It's kind of like, in some ways, it's almost like using a pointer. All right? So if I wanted to change this from Hello World to something else, if I wanted to change it from Hello World to Hello Android, that's where I do it. Does that make sense? You don't have to do that. But I'm just showing you where I would do it if indeed that's what I wanted to do. All right? If I go back into my main activity file again, or this activity file, and go back to graphical layout, it still says Hello World. You have to take my word for it. It will change. It'll say in just a second, it'll say Hello Android. Okay? Now, if I do, and again, you can do this, what I'm about to show you, but you don't have to. What you see up here, this is the equivalent of your toolbox. Everybody get that? That's the equivalent of your toolbox. It's set up a lot differently from what you've seen before. And I'm going to do it by showing you this stuff. I'm going to go from the bottom up if you look up on the screen. So I'm clicking the one that says Custom and Library Views. And you'll notice right now there are no custom views. So it's empty. Other, Action Menu View, Text Clock, and Toolbar. If I wanted to add those to this, if I wanted to add my own toolbar, etc. I don't want to. Advanced. There's a bunch of other stuff in here. Request focus, view stub, gesture over, a bunch of stuff. I don't want any of those. Next, transition. A bunch of other stuff. Flippers, switchers, etc. Animators. I don't care about that. Time and date. Notice what I have in here. If I had an app that I wanted to put in either a date picker or a time picker, I'd be able to just drag that control out onto here. Does that make sense? All right. The other thing that's on here, just so you see this, it's got chronometer. Sometimes you'll see chronometer or you'll see accelerometer or accelerometer. And those have to do typically if you want to shake it to do something. Okay? All right. Images and media. You probably have already guessed this, but if I wanted to go and stick an image in something, I'd need an image view to put the image into. All right? And there's other things that we can put in here also. That'd be the one you'd be using most often. Composite. It's got grid view, scroll view, horizontal scroll view, search view, and a bunch of tab stuff. All right? Again, if I want to be able to play with this stuff, is all in a view. We're not going to deal with that now. If you look up on the screen, please look up here. See where my mouse is? Everybody see where that says relative layout? If I clicked under layouts, I could change that. You know what these layouts are because we've dealt with them before. We've dealt with a grid layout. We've dealt with a linear layout. We've looked at a relative layout. All right. Some of the other ones in here we haven't talked about before because they pertain to Java and not to Android, where these pertain to Android but not necessarily to Java. All right? All right. Here's the important ones. Text fields. All right? And again, we're going to come back and look at this stuff. But if you take your mouse and you put it over it, it shows you. Okay, that's just plain text. So if I want a text field that could hold virtually anything in it. All right? Notice that. That's a text field that's supposed to hold a name. I'm not going to go through each one of these. But I do want to go down towards the bottom to show you. Notice, text field designed to hold a phone number. That's a text area. Multi-line text. Designed to hold a time, designed to hold a date, designed to hold an integer. Notice how it says number. Designed to hold a negative integer. All right, so it's signed. So this, I think, is positive only, and this is positive or negative. This, type decimal. So when you drag stuff out there, basically all of these are text boxes. But they're special kinds of text boxes. Okay? And then finally, when you look at the last one, well, what's up here? Here's a text view. So if I literally go and drag that right here, you don't have to do this, but if I drag that, boom, it put a text view there. If I go back to my activity main, it just added this. Didn't put a lot of stuff in it, and also notice it didn't wrap anything. So you can manually go in here. If I don't like the way this looks, I can hit enter here, tab it over so I line it up pretty, and then hit it again. And then I can hit it again. Eventually I'll come to the end. But you can see it set up a bunch of stuff for me automatically. All right? All I'm telling you is I like to put everything on its own line, because if I decide I want to fidget with something, I know it's only that line I'm fidgeting with, so to speak. What you'll find is a lot of the stuff that you work with in here is hinky. And what I mean is it's just weird. Sometimes you go, it looks like IntelliSense. And you'll click on the IntelliSense and nothing will happen. I don't know why that's the case. The editor can be a little funky in the way that it works. I'm not sure exactly why. All right. So again, you already saw this, and there I added that text view. All right. That's the one I just added. If I go back here, highlight all of this. All right. I can highlight it here, hit delete, go back to here, and it's gone. All right. I can put it back in again. Go back into here. All right. Just what we just saw right there. And I can also go over here. It's highlighted, hit delete, and it's gone over here. So you see how you can remove them from either place? All right? And it's supposed to always work like that, just so you know. All right? Now, notice in here, and again, we're going to take a break in just a minute or two, but notice if I come back in here, if I like to do things from graphical layout mode. All right? So if I come down here and I grab a button and I drag it in, okay? You've seen this kind of stuff before. In that look, it set up my button. There it is. And notice it gives it a default size and a default location. 58 density pixels left and 167 there. And really that's where I put it. Okay, so you'll notice, so it's 58 and 167. If I come back here and I grab this and I drag it down, it's no longer 58 and 167. All right, I don't know where the 1 went, but you can see. Okay, if I come in here, I can stretch this thing out like this, just like we've done previously, and it will work eventually. It gets real funky the way that these get set up, but you can play with them. You have to take my word for it. We're going to be doing that. All right? But again, that's how you add a control. Is you just take it, you click on it, and you drag it over. That's all that I wanted to show to you. Okay? All right. We're going to take a break just so you know where that file is. And to try to help, where this file that I've got, I use Travis stuff. I put it all in caps. All right? And this is where that file of yours is going to be if you got the battery problem. Now, please look before you do this. Look right here. That's your login. You're going to have to find that file and open it up in Notepad. And yours, near the top of it, it'll say something like hw.battery equal no. All right, you with me? So let me grab the file to show it to you. I'll bring this right back up. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to bring it up here. In fact, I probably already had it, so it'll remember it. No, it still doesn't. All right. So I'm going to do an open and tell it where I want it to open it from. All right, so I'm going to click over here. Boom. Hit enter. All right. There's Android, and I forgot the rest of it. I think it was AVD. All right, there's my Nexus 1 AVD. There's the configuration file. All right. And again, what I want is nexus1.avd, all right, under the AVD, then the config.ini. And there it is. So if I open it up, please take a look up here. All right, so I'm going to open it, and I'm going to open it. That's the thing. John, it went and reset itself. Yours is going to say no when you open it. So this is what I did before. Okay? I went and manually changed it to yes. Okay? Then I saved it. Then when I got out, I went to the file and went in there, and in that file, and I'll have to find it again. My document, now I don't remember where the hell it was. .android. All right. So now in that file, what I did was I right mouse clicked on it, went to properties, and chose on there read only. which means you shouldn't be able to change it, but somehow it's being changed by the emulator itself. I have never seen this before. John will tell you, he took the class with me last spring. I don't remember ever, other than the fact that the emulator is slow as hell. We never had a problem with the emulator with anybody. There were 8 people in that class. Never had a problem. No. I didn't know this file existed until I went out to Stack Overflow. So again, if you want, you can try that file, but that's where it is. So again, the difference is with yours, yours will not be J. Scott. It will be your username. But you should be able to go out to that file, and we have to figure out a way to get that thing set to yes and have it stay there. What's actually happening is, what it did was it reset the battery, but it didn't fully charge it. It only put it to halfway. And I've been starting emulator, stopping emulator, starting emulator, stop. I must have done it 20 times. So I drained the battery. So what you might have to do until we can figure this out is, as soon as you start for the period, start up your emulator. But before you even do that, go to this file and make sure that that battery thing is set to yes. Yeah, it's right there. Yours is going to be T. Derone. No, you've got to go to this path. But with D:\users /T Derone /.android /avd whatever, and this is whatever you called your emulator. So if you didn't call your emulator New Nexus 1, it's not going to be called that. All right, so it's whatever you called yours. So if you're working on it, you're having a problem, let me know. All right, and I'll try to help you find it. Okay. Now, I'm coming right back here, but since we're going to take a break, I'm going to stop taping, and so I have to switch screens here. So I'm switching screens. I'm going to stop the tape, and then I'll come right back to it.